G'day guys, welcome to today's video. Today's video is going to be a series of videos. So this is going to be an introduction video of sorts. I guess we could call it an introduction and preparation video. So as you've seen from this title, I will be going about building a Seagull Boomerang trainer airplane. Now, this is not going to be for me. This airplane that I'll be building is going to be for my old man. So you might remember, I think it was 1 or 2 videos back, I built a small Banggood foam airplane. Wasn't really, I haven't flown it since, just been tied up with some things, but I haven't had a chance to fly it again since I've repaired it. But I bought it initially for my father to learn on. It's not really a beginner friendly plane, so I thought. And so he's gotten a Boomerang trainer, and I wasn't sure how I was going to go about doing this this video, or this series of videos. So it's going to be a series of videos going through the build process, but I'm going to aim this series of videos at the complete beginner to model airplanes. Now I know there's going to be some armchair experts out there throwing in their 2 bobs worth, and I don't really care. I've been having some trouble lately from people, but I'm going to aim this series of videos for the complete newcomer. And it could be complete newcomer, never flown a model airplane before, or you've had something really simple and basic and you want to step up to something bit more advanced than, say, for instance, an E-Flight Apprentice, which is a foam model and is really basic construction. So what we're going to do is, as you can see, we're not in my office, we're actually in my work shed. So we're going to head over to the workbench in the work shed, and I'll show you the aircraft and we'll go from there. Alrighty guys, so here we have a Seagull Boomerang 2. Now the Boomerang is probably one of the most popular trainers in the world, I guess you could say. These are really popular. I actually learnt on one of these. I actually learnt, my Boomerang was actually the original Boomerang, and it actually had rubber bands that held the wing on. And this is the Boomerang 2. It's an updated version of it. There might be a Boomerang 3 coming out, I'm not too sure. But this is the Boomerang 2, and if you're looking at getting one of these, you can fly it as either glow powered or electric, and you can either have it as a trike or a tail dragger. So when you get a model, any model, and you're new to like building models, this is an ARF kit, so you'll get it when you open the box. Is you basically get the airframe and the hardware for it. What you need to complete it is either an engine or a motor and speed controller and battery, and you will need your own radio system and 4 servos, or 3 servos if you are using an electric setup. So we're going glow power with this, so it'll require 4 servos, your own radio, engine, and receiver battery and so forth, which I'll cover as we go through this series of videos. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm just going to pause it here, open up the box, and I will go through with you the process of preparation. Alrighty guys, so before I get on to the preparation part, in my excitement to get this out of the box and start going through with you the preparation process, I forgot one important thing, and it's what you need to assemble the model. So apart from requiring engine electronics, you'll need some basic tools. So you'll need some screwdrivers, both flathead and flat screwdrivers. You'll also need some glue, so you will need some CA glue. You can use thin or medium CA glue, and you will need some epoxy glue as well. Now, with the epoxy, I recommend a 30-minute epoxy. Now, you can get different kinds of epoxy. You can get 5-minute, 15-minute, and 30-minute. I think you can even get 45-minute epoxy. I like the 30-minute epoxy because it doesn't go as hard as some of the faster drying ones. It must be the hardener that it's with it. I honestly don't recommend using anything faster than a 15-minute epoxy. One, because with a 15 or a 30-minute epoxy, gives you plenty of time to set the parts up and connect your parts and things like that. Also, with when you don't have time to set it up, but I just find it's better to use a slower curing epoxy, and it does tend to be a little bit more durable in the long run. I've seen models where they've used 5-minute epoxy and it's gone brittle over time, and even actually on one of my models, I think I used a 15-minute epoxy, and I ended up having to glue the tail section for the horizontal stabilizer. So I do recommend a 30-minute epoxy. Also, a hobby knife will come in handy, because sometimes when you're inserting your electronics or some things don't line up properly, you might have to customize things. It's just how it is. Also, some sandpaper. Sandpaper comes in handy, and we may even have to use it in this build. I'm not sure, but we'll see how we go. So what we'll do now is I'll set up the camera. I'll move some parts out of the way, because what we'll do is we'll focus on the fuselage first, then we'll move on to the next parts. Alrighty, now before we get onto the fuselage, some of the other things we need to look for, is to see if we've got everything. Now, I mean, I've never had any issue with Seagull models. All the parts have always been in there, but always check, make sure you got your wing spar here, and you got your control rods for your control surfaces and your throttle if you're going glow power. Check your hardware too. So like I said, this one, with this model, you can either have it as a tail dragger or as a trike configuration. I'm doing the trike configuration. Make sure you got your fuel tank and other miscellaneous in there, all your wheels in there and so forth. I'll go through that later. And also, if you're going to do the electric conversion, so this is for if you want to go electric power, make sure all the bits and pieces are in there for electric. I'm not going to worry about that, so they could be parts for something else later on. So we'll move these to the side here. Make sure you read through your instruction manual first. It's good just to go through your instruction manual, just go through it, familiarize yourself with what you're doing, and that way you don't have any oopsies when you're building. Now, so here we have the fuselage. So one thing I like to do is these models are all mass produced. I mean, if you go on their Facebook page, you can see there's a whole line of people working on models, whether it's a Boomerang or a Corsair or whatever. They're all mass produced, and you never know, you might just come across a Friday afternoon model. And by Friday afternoon model, I mean it's Friday afternoon, they want the clock out, and so it's a rush to get it done. So what I like to do is to go over the fuselage and the wings and so forth and make sure that everything is all fine and dandy. So we take this off. So what I like to do is, for instance, you've got the firewall here, go through the firewall, and I might even just do it just for my own well-being, is I'm going to go check where you got glue here, and check the glue, check everything, make sure there's no wobbles, check to see if there's sufficient glue, even just push on it, make sure that, you know, it doesn't want to pull away. Oop. Check, because this is where your fuel tank will be mounted here. Check it along here, make sure it's all nice. And this is important here too. This is where your radio tray will go, or this is your radio tray, so this is where your servos will be. So you'll have your throttle servo, your elevator and rudder servo back here. Go give it a test. And the good thing is, they've actually, since when I had my Boomerang, they've changed the specifications in the construction process. Mine wasn't notched into the sides here, so there's definitely going to be no movement. But every model is different. Still, it doesn't hurt just to check, make sure it's nicely glued, make sure there's no weak spots. And this has definitely been beefed up here since my original Boomerang. Now this section here is important too. This is the section that holds the main wing onto the fuselage, so you want to make sure that the gluing is good. I might even just, I mean, it's glued along there, but just for my own sense of satisfaction, I might even just go over it again just to make sure that it's all fine, because you don't want to have a structural failure in flight. Partly not just because it's going to be an expensive crash, but it could cause damage to people and or property. So you want to make sure everything's nice. Check the formers down here. It'll be hard to get down to the ones down in there, but if you got a long stick or a long screwdriver, give them a poke. I'll do that off camera. Go through it, check it, make sure it's nice and well glued, solid. So check along the bottom here, check everywhere, make sure there are no sections that need to be re-glued. So what I'll do next, first of all, I'll put this on, I'll move to the side, and I'll show you the wings. Okay, first of all, before we get to the main wings that are just to my left, so we'll check the vertical and horizontal stabilizers. This will control this will be for your elevator and your rudder if you're new to model aircraft. So when you're going through, obviously this is all covered over, but push around where the wood is glued, see if it's loose. It should all be nice and well glued. And my camera's mucking up, there we go. So now, unlike my original Boomerang that had pins for the hinges, these are, and they were nylon hinges too back then, but these are like your fiberglass paper style hinges, so they will need to be glued. You'll want to check them, make sure that there's the right amount of hinges for each control surface. Same thing here. just check it, make sure that nothing is make sure it's all glued properly, and also you can't see it on camera, but check the hinges. Obviously these hinges will need to be glued, so these are fine, and I'll move them to the side. Now I'll get one of the main wings. Okay, so this is the left half of the main wing, so it'll be exactly the same process for the right half. So, and it's the same thing again, so you'll want to check everything, give it a squeeze where you can see the ribs where they are, see how if there's any movement. This is a solid. Now this is a bit of balsa paneling over here. This is just to help this is part of the structure for when it's mounted to the fuselage. You'll want to check it, make sure it's glued nicely. Again, and you check your leading edge of the wing, make sure it's fine, make sure there's no cracks in it. You can possibly get away with a small crack, but it's something you want to keep an eye on. Check the underneath, and here we have one of the control rods here for the ailerons. Make sure that moves freely, there's no binding, and as you can see it moves fine. Again, with the hinges, these will need to be glued. Also, it might be a bit difficult to see, but look down inside the wing, check the ribs, see if it's glued properly. We'll have to clean out this bit here where I'm pointing. This is where the wing tube goes in. That'll need to be cleaned out. There's a bit of debris in there, and so far it's looking pretty good. So guys, I won't actually be starting construction in this video, but this is just, like I said, an introduction and preparation for the model. Next video, what we're going to do is we're going to start construction and we're going to go from there. So if you like this video guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're new here, and I will see you in the next video when we start building this thing.